As if not, it's
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
it's me and you. Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
Another thing we learned about in our training, because I was recertified to do seated Tai Chi, but
Okay.
holy moly, the power of seated Tai Chi, I had kind of forgotten about because I don't do a lot of seated Tai Chi. So,
Oh, yes.
on this past Friday when I had my class, we
Uh-huh.
we stayed seated and we did some of those moves particular to seated where we pushed our feet into the floor while we
Mm-hmm.
did that other foot. And if you can imagine in our Tai Chi class, we don't lift our knees really high, except there at the end when we're giving ourselves a foot
Oh, yeah.
massage.
Oh, yes.
But when you're seated, and I'm going to move to the wall to get
Uh-huh.
leverage, but when we're seated, this is the position we're in. Our legs are all the way up here. We're just in a chair. So when
Mm-hmm.
we lift our legs up, we're lifting them even higher. But
Mm-hmm.
we think because we're seated, it's so much easier, but it's not
Mm-hmm.
so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's very challenging to do Tai Chi seated. So if that's something that you're interested in, we can work on seated Tai Chi and experience
Okay.
that way. So is that something you might want to do?
Yes, ma'am. Because I still have the wrap on my leg.
I was thinking that when you said being in the hospital, that
Yes,
sometimes
ma'am.
we're in positions when we can't move, we can't get up.
Yes, ma'am.
We're in positions where we don't have a lot of space to work with. Let me get my
Yes, ma'am.
let me get my camera a little better set up. All right. So I'm in this folded chair and I'm scooted up in it, not so far that I'm going to flip the chair forward, but just far
Uh-huh.
enough to where I have to rely on good posture or the
Mm-hmm.
uh, rely on the muscles in my back and in my core to give me good posture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not relying on the back of the chair to support my body. I'm
Oh,
supporting
yeah.
myself. So, and my feet are connected to the floor. Now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
really short. So, if I were to sit back in some chairs, my feet wouldn't even touch the floor. Now, this chair is
Yes, ma'am.
short, but we want our feet to be grounded. We want them to be able to touch the floor
Okay.
whenever we're sitting in a chair. Another thing to remember is when you think about your chair, not to have a chair with wheels on it
Oh, yes. Goodness.
or a rocking chair. We want it to
Mm-hmm.
be stable. And then also thinking about arms on your chair.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine if I had arms on my chair, they may get in my way
Mm-hmm.
whenever I go to do some of our moves. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you can't use a chair with arms. You just may have to modify the way you hold your body because
Mm-hmm.
they're there. There's no doubt
Oh,
about
yeah.
it. So I like this chair seated for seated Tai Chi because it doesn't have arms. It allows me to touch the floor. I can
Mm-hmm.
scoot up without, nothing's in my way. It's not a barrier. It
Mm-hmm.
supports me for me to stay seated. Now, when I stand up, it's a little bit short. I would recommend
Uh-huh.
that could be about right here. But, so yes, would we like to have like the perfect chair for seated Tai Chi or the perfect chair for standing Tai Chi with the use of a chair for support? Yeah, but sometimes we can't just go through our house and be like, well, what about this chair? What about this chair? We might
Mm-hmm.
not have a bunch of choices when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
chairs in our house.
Now,
We
the
have
chair
what
you
we
sit and the chair what you sitting in now,
have.
those chairs are very hard for me to get in and out because I'm tall and the chair,
Oh,
I'm
you have to
I'm
go
real tall,
down.
and then the chairs is low. So my husband he got me a chair and it's a wooden chair, but it have the level seat, but it don't have no arms on it. but the good part about it is it's tall. It's
Oh,
tall
I
enough me.
like that.
It's good. It's tall me to get up and down. So when we went to when the senior center was going on in Cairo,
Mm-hmm.
one of the ladies, she had went in the hospital and she was telling me about when she had went to rehab and all that. That she told me, she said, sit in the chair and spread your legs and reach up on the chair and then get up.
Like here?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Reach down and reach up a hand up on there and then
Uh-huh.
get up. Yes, ma'am.
And that helps
Yes, ma'am. That help a whole lot. Yes, ma'am.
versus this, like trying to reach
Yes,
here.
ma'am.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. And she learned that in
Yes, ma'am.
what's it
In
called?
therapy,
Therapy.
Phys- physical therapy. She was teaching all the us out there on the and especially the older one. She would teach them how to get up out the chair, so that way you get up safe, and it worked. I said, well,
Oh, thank you for sharing. I like that because it widens your base.
yes, ma'am.
Really, that's easier when you have a wider base.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
the pressure you're using
Pressure on it.
in the center,
Yes, ma'am.
I like that. I'm going to share that too. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Because
Um,
a lot of people just jump up, get up, and then they sometimes they lose the balance.
or I see people like rock,
Rock
rock,
to get up.
rock,
Rock to get up.
and I can see where you could easily flip some
Yes,
chairs.
yes, ma'am.
Especially like this chair is kind of slick, but
Yes,
if
ma'am.
you have a fabric chair, that may be difficult to kind of scoop out of because
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
kind of
So
stiff.
after she did that, then what I did was I took my chair I was sitting in and I put it against the wall and I told the other people, I said, look at me, watch this here. I put it against the wall so that way you have something to lean back on, the chair lean against the wall, and then you did that, put your hand up on there, and then got up.
Oh yeah. And that gives you good leverage because the wall's not going anywhere, is it?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
If we knocking down walls, that wall was sick before.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Well,
Yes, ma'am.
for sharing, we can always learn from each other.
Yes, ma'am.
I
And
love
I
it.
imagine a lot of the elder people have a hard time trying to get out the chair. Some of them give up.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
So you can
Yeah,
share that. That'll help out.
I will definitely share that. I teach bingo size on Mondays and Thursdays.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
well, tomorrow's not Thursday. This
Yes, ma'am.
Thursday, I will go to Candler
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I will um share that with them. Okay, I got
Yes, ma'am.
Nora, and who else just came in?
Irene Hunter.
Irene.
Hello, Miss Irene.
Hello.
Where? There's Nora. Well, no, okay. Nora's on mute.
Oh, okay.
Let me fix your name. So your name's not iPhone, Miss Irene.
Okay.
But we're talking
Hey, no,
about,
help Nora.
Oh, hello.
I can see your beautiful face. I love it.
I
So,
want to go.
huh? What were you gonna say?
I was going to say I wanted to take the video off.
Oh, you want to turn it off? I can turn it off, I think.
Why?
Okay, stop video.
I did. I
Okay,
did.
I just stopped it. All right.
But at least you know how I look.
I love it. You have good hair too. Miss Barbara, I was complimenting Miss Barbara on her hair.
Mhm.
You got flat, straight hair. I just love when people have big hair.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh,
Thank you.
we're talking about getting up out of a chair. And so Miss Barbara shared with me that she learned if you put your chair against a wall to get you leverage, if that's a possibility, do that. But if not, at least get in your chair, open, like spread your feet apart, connected to the ground, and push yourself up from the middle here versus trying to push yourself up from the sides or to, rock yourself up. But that is something that somebody had learned in therapy of getting up out of a chair, and I liked that. So that's what we were talking about whenever y'all joined us. We're talking about specifically seated Tai Chi because let's just say you're somewhere you can't move. You may be in the hospital and you can't just get up out your bed, but you can still do Tai Chi. Even laying in a bed, you can do the upper body movements of Tai Chi. Or if you're in a chair and you can't, get out of that chair, maybe you're in an airplane and you only have that small space to work with, then, or you just want a different experience with Tai Chi. So that's what we're going to do today. Excuse me. So here we go. We still, just like we were walking around the room, open and closing our hands, just getting our bodies ready for exercise. Now here I'm lifting my feet off the floor. Well, that's a lot. That takes a lot of leg muscle to lift my feet off the floor. So if that's too much, then what I want you to do is tap your heel and your toe and just tap heels and then tap toes, one at a time, whatever you feel most comfortable doing. We're just getting that blood flowing, getting our bodies warmed up and ready for exercise. So I acknowledge that lifting those feet off the floor, that it takes a lot of leg muscle. So do whatever you can or what you're comfortable with. But you want to have that good posture. You want your feet to be able to plant on the floor as we go through our movements. So starting with our neck.
Thank you.
And if you have a hard time, I know what I need to do. Because when we first started, it was just me. So I have to change it to spotlight. There we go. So that way it won't move around. All right. So let's just say that you have a difficult time like wearing out. You can only stand for so long. So this would be one way that you saved your energy for when we stand up. So these first three major joints, our neck, shoulders, and spine, they don't have leg movements or lower body movements. So you can do it seated and save the energy of your legs and then stand up when it's time to do our knees and ankles. So that gives you a variation as well. So let's begin with our neck. Works the same way seated as standing. Bring those hands up, pull towards our chin and chest, turn and push away. Follow those hands all the way down, chin to chest. When you bring those hands in, I want you to pull your chin in like you're creating a double chin. Engaging that full neck muscle. Don't forget to breathe. Starting to get a case of the yawns, y'all. This time change doesn't sit well with me.
Me either.
It's hard to get yourself to go to sleep at night because it seems too early to go to bed. And then that doesn't change anything in the morning. So you're getting up like a whole hour earlier, I think. I think that's how it works. I'm gonna get my yawn out. Just going side to side, just the same way that we do whenever we're standing. Now, if I wanted to engage my legs, what I could do is when I go this way and follow the hand that way, I could push this leg into the floor. So notice if I push this leg, it pushes me that way. And when I switch, I push the other leg into the floor and it pushes me that way. So I want y'all to experience, I don't even know how to hold my hands. I'm like going like this. I want y'all to experience that. Pushing one foot into the floor, and it's the opposite foot of the direction that you're going. So push, and it pushes you to the side. Switch. Push as it pushes you to the side. You feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Now that engaged your leg muscles, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It engaged my leg muscles so much that I didn't really know what I was doing with my hands. I lost track of what I was doing with my hands because I was so focused on pushing into the floor. So that might not be a good time for me to do that. But you may have experienced it differently. But we'll do engaging our legs into the floor when we get to our Tai Chi movements.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for our shoulders, rolling those shoulders forward. Our hands are to our sides. And then rolling those shoulders back. Really small circles. So we're opening our shoulder joints. When we talk about the internal components of Tai Chi, it's one way we song or open our joints. Pull those shoulders back. Okay. The next way we warm up our shoulder joints is that big shoulder circle where we come up and we push down. Inhale up and then turn and push down.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord. It's here because it's lunchtime and we appreciate doing it.
Slow, smooth, and continuous as we move those arms. All right, now let's get our ball. So we're going to stretch our spine. Now, typically what we do is we push one hand in the air and push the other one down towards the ground as if we were separating the heavens and the earth. Coming back to center and switching. So something they talked about in training is some people have a hard time with this movement because they lack the mobility in that shoulder. So it's hard for them to raise that arm up like that. And so if that's the case for you, here's a different method. And even if you can easily do it, this right here is a different method. So remember, maybe you're sitting in a doctor's office and you are a waiting room, or maybe you're in that room that they throw you in before you finally do get to see the doctor. And you don't have a lot of space to work with, and maybe you don't want to be in public like raising your hand up in the air. Maybe you want to kind of stay in your frame a little better, or a little less noticeable rather. So how about this? Pretend you have a string and pull that string up and down at the same time. Staying in this area of your body, switch your hands and pull that string. And while you're pulling that imaginary string, don't try to figure out where your string is. It's an imaginary one. When you pull that string, I want you to think about your spine. And I want you to think about your spine stretching as you pull that string. Isn't that cool? Switch and pull that string, thinking about stretching your spine. So that was fascinating to me because I really thought I had to go way big in order to stretch my spine. So to feel that same stretch, and stay small right here, that's impressive. So again, if you have mobility issues in your shoulders, do this one instead.
It's almost like you're using your imagination, huh?
It is. And how cool is that? Because Dr. Lamb tells us, do what we can and imagine doing the full movement.
Yeah.
And maybe that's hard to do whenever you're hurting. You know, when you're up here and you're like, that hurts, but you thought you had to do exactly like I was doing. Maybe you couldn't come up here, but you're hurting, so you're not thinking about the full movement, because thinking about the full movement feels like pain. So bringing it small, you're more able to use that imagination and just pull that spine. And I'm even saying pull as if I'm really pulling something. You hear the effort in that
Yeah.
pull. That's why I had to tell you the string was imaginary, so you didn't think. So maybe it's not a string. Maybe it's one of those like rubber band things, those really big rubber bands that comes around your whole stack of mail sometimes.
Miss Jennifer.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, when I was at the doctor's office last week, they told me, she said, I said, let me show you something that I could do that I hadn't been doing. And I hold my leg up myself. And it was steady up. And then I hold the other up steady. She said, look at me. She said, you hadn't been doing that. And I was telling them about you, about the Tai Chi. And she said, if I wasn't working, three of them said, if they wasn't working, they'll join it. And I told her, I said, it's really helping me. And she said, and you hadn't asked for no help on anything. I went in there just like a different person. So it's really helping me. As you said, about mobility and all around, it's helping me. I appreciate it.
Oh, that makes me feel so good, because that's what I want. That's what I want to make a difference in y'all's lives.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to feel stronger and more able in all that y'all do. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
That just is what keeps me going.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what will keep me from retiring, is knowing I'm making a difference.
you never know how much you helping everybody.
Oh, I love that. I love that so
ma'am.
much. Thank you, Miss Barbara, for sharing that.
Yes, ma'am.
So now we're going to have a whole new version of seated, and you'll be so amazed at how it will encourage your leg muscles to work. But like you demonstrated at your doctor's appointment, being able to hold weight on one leg, that lessens our chance of falling. Being able to hold our weight on one leg says, wow, your muscles are really strong. They're able to probably keep you upright, no matter what comes your way. So that's the premise behind Tai Chi, is as we slowly transfer weight to one leg, we are essentially holding weight on one leg. Even though we don't come here and say, okay, everybody, all your weight on your right leg, hold, hold, hold. We don't do it like that, but we do it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so let's go to our hips. Now, these look a little bit different. Oh, wait, we didn't do the spine one where we go side to side. So we get our ball. Now, notice when I say get our ball, it's as if we are holding a ball. There's our imagination again. But our hands are facing each other. And that's the important part of these movements. So many times our hands are facing each other. Think about when we went from side to side. When we come back to the front, watch, our hand passes each other as we go to that other side. So often our hands are passing each other. If you look at your hands right now, they may look a little bit splotchy. Well, we have acupuncture points on our hands, and when they face each other, they talk to each other. And that helps create the energy that we work with in Tai Chi called Chi. And that's why so many times our hands do face each other. So here holding our ball, our hands are facing each other, and we take that ball going in the direction of the hand that's on top towards that knee, switching our hands and come back. And I shouldn't say towards that knee because that would make you go forward, but it's turn and we don't go any further than where our leg is. So I'm kind of talking stand-up Tai Chi, but seated Tai Chi, this movement, it's really easy to feel the stay within your frame movement. It's easier when you're seated than when you're standing, because if I start turning too much, I can feel myself pulling out of the chair. When you're standing, you can go here and you may feel a pull of your hip, you may feel a pull in your knee, but it doesn't seem to be as obvious as when you're in a chair and you start coming out of your chair. So it really stops where that leg is, where your frame is, and we go to the other side. So this is warming up that spine. And of course, in our warm-up stretches, we still follow principle of slow, smooth, continuous, upright posture. So that one's for our spine. Now we can think about lower body. So when we're doing this movement standing, it's the one where we shift weight and we place our heel forward and our hands back. We pause in the middle and then we go toe back, hands forward. But when we're seated, we're not going to pull our leg back. That may not be very stable, but we can place our heel forward, hands back, and then come back to a seated position with our hands up. And switch, heel forward, hands back, come back to seated position. Now, what I want you to do is the foot that is not moving, right? So this heel is out. This is the leg that's not moving. I want you to do it two ways. I want you to do it with doing nothing with this leg. And then I want you to do it with pushing this leg into the floor. Okay? So do it both ways. So push it into the floor and bring it back. Push the other one into the floor. Bring it back. Now don't push it into the floor. Hopefully you experienced that when you push that foot into the floor, it's easier to move that other leg. Why is it easier? Well, it's like putting down your cane. That's your that's your stabilizer. You're putting yourself in place. You're putting a nail down, a stake down, so that you can move that, and it helps you be stable. The whole time you're utilizing muscle, and when you use muscle, it gets stronger. So it's doing two things. It's being a stabilizer for you in that moment, but using muscle makes it stronger. So we push it into the floor as we put that heel forward, hands back, and come back to center. And you're in charge of how much pressure you put into the floor. So that's the beauty of it, because it's not like I'm telling you to push 100 pounds into the floor. It would be a PSI, a pressure. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm staying confused on whether my hands should be up or down. It is a new experience, isn't it? As many times as we've done this warm up, we've done it standing, and now I'm trying to do it seated, and I'm taking push into the floor, heel forward, hands back. Okay, pause in the middle. Okay, I'm not putting my foot back, but I'm still raising my hands. Now switch. you just wouldn't. One less thing to do, you would think would be easier, but it's just different.
Mhm.
My left knee sounds like potato chips today. All right, so that's the first hip exercise. The other one looks like this. So we shift weight to one. If we're standing, it's this one. Shift, tap. Shift, tap. Here, we shift. So we take our hands in the direction of a shift. But shift when we're seated is push that foot into the floor. And then this opposite leg comes out. So I lay my knee out. And don't you feel that stretch right here in your hip?
Mm-hmm.
So again, you're in charge of how much. You know what that feeling is, so stretch it out. Now, you don't have to put weight on this leg, but give it a try and see if that makes the experience better or easier. So we're shifting, laying that opposite leg out. So it's a little bit different of an experience doing seated.
Are you putting the weight on both legs or just one at a time?
Just
One.
one at a time. So when I lay that knee out, there's no weight on that foot.
Okay.
I'm just laying that knee out. And to me, it's too much for me to put too much weight on the other foot here. So I just give a little bit of pressure to the floor as I lay that leg out, bring it up, release that pressure. Now give that pressure to that other leg. So pushing the foot into the floor, you don't have to do that. I'm just giving you some options. So don't do it and lay that knee out. It's sort of a weird camera angle, but I'm just laying my knee over to stretch my hip flexor, which is a nice movement, even if you're able to do standing and don't have to do seated Tai Chi. It's just a different stretch for your hip. All right, now for our knees. Of course, we have our loose fist, and we're going to tap that toe out and punch opposite hand. Bring it back. Now, to me, this does help to push the foot into the floor when you raise that other foot out. I think it helps stabilize it. So taking our time, shifting, pushing in the floor, and tapping out that foot. Putting that toe out there, kind of hovering it in the air. And now what we're going to do, so remember when we do standing, we tap that toe out. That was the version we just did, the seated. And our second one for our knee, we step forward, shift forward, and shift back. Okay, that's our seated or standing version. Seated version, we're not going to step forward and shift weight. We will come out of our chair. So what we're going to do is shift weight, which means push the foot into one foot. And then this other foot, we're going to place our heel out and punch the opposite hand. So heel out, bring it back. Shift, heel out. Now that's a different stretch, isn't it? Shift, heel out. So it helps me in these scenarios to push the foot into the floor before I lift that leg out because it helps stabilize me.
Mhm.
All right. Next is for our ankles. And so we know when we do standing, it's heel, toe, heel, toe. Well, that's kind of an awkward movement when you're seated, especially to do the toe. But if you're comfortable doing that, do that heel, toe there. And then the other movement is, of course, big toe, little toe. So we're going side to side, right? Side to side. Right there on the floor. Now, if that doesn't feel good, scoot back in your chair so your chair holds the top part of your legs and do like windshield wipers or rotate your ankles in the air. You can do one at the time, back and forth, round in circles, point, flex, point, flex. Just do it in the air, what you would normally do on the floor as a standing Tai Chi person. To me, this is easier to do it in the air. Big toe, little toe, and heel toe in the air. Big circles. You can't really do a big circle. Now, I will say this about our ankle joints. We kind of take them for granted because they're so far away from us and they're our smaller joint, but they are a weight-bearing joint and we want our ankles to be strong. And this movement right here helps increase the strength of the muscles, but also helps improve the flexibility and mobility of that ankle joint. I think Miss Irene left, and now she's back. There you are.
Okay. There I am. I had to jump off on a call.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
Mhm.
So doing this movement helps with flexibility and mobility of your ankle so that if you're ever strolling around and have you ever turned your ankle?
Mhm.
And okay, well, sometimes you turn your ankle, and if you have really strong ankles, then you correct it and stand up. Like you might have scratched your shoes, but you didn't fall down. But
Mhm.
if you have really weak ankles and you twist your ankle, you may really hurt yourself falling or really continue to twist that ankle. You could break your ankle.
Mhm.
So that's why it's so important to strengthen the muscle so that when you're in those situations where you do get a turned ankle, you can recover from it and not fall. So just those movements right there help with that. You don't realize how much strength it takes to lift and point that toe toward your face, right? That's called
Mhm.
a flex. There's a point and there's a flex. And you can feel all of your leg muscles down there as you point
Mhm.
and flex. So that's
Mhm.
a movement that you can do whenever you're seated. If you're at a meeting, if you're at church, just as you're listening, rock those feet and work the muscles of your ankle joints.
Mhm.
But Jennifer,
Uh-huh.
what I do now, I stretch my stretch my leg out, and then like you said, hold it like you hold it. I stretch it out, and I count. I look at the minutes and see how long I could hold it out like that. So right now, I could do a minute
Oh,
holding it straight out without it, falling down and moving it.
there
And so
Mhm.
that let me know I'm getting more strength.
you
Mhm.
are getting more strength.
Mhm.
And, I was holding my leg out and doing that. And I realized that takes a lot of leg muscle. That's why
Hmm.
scooting back in your chair and allowing your chair to support the big part of your leg as
Hmm.
you raise your hand, that's helpful. Or you can do like this. You see, I'm going heel, toe. I'm coming up on my toe here. So that takes less muscle, but that's another way of doing that same movement. So you
That's
might
like you're doing a sewing machine.
oh yeah.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, if you've ever sewn for a long time in a day, your foot may get tired, huh?
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Or if you drive
Yes,
and have to
yes, ma'am.
push. Oh, push, brake. Oh, I've never thought about that before, about how driving relies on us to have really strong ankle
Mhm.
muscles going back and forth from the gas into the brake. Wow, it's amazing what you can learn, and you think, oh, we're just having an easy day doing seated Tai Chi, but we're really learning so much because we're doing it in a different way.
Mhm.
Man.
All right, so basic six is seated Tai Chi. So if you ever see Dr. Lamb seated Tai Chi, that's what it is, basic six. And so we know the arm movements of basic six. Right and left do not matter in seated. Now, you may have a muscle memory from doing it standing, and so go with that if you must, but there's no right or left in seated Tai Chi. So let's just do the upper body movements of basic six. So we start with our hands to our side. Here we go. And commence. Hands come up and down towards our knees. We pull them in towards our hips, up our bodies, out, back in. Now open and close. Single whip. Push those hands out, turn and separate. Come back down. Ready for waving hands and clouds. We turn, switch, turn, side to side. Oh, I forgot to count to six.
It feels so good.
Feels
Six
a lot
step.
better than standing.
You like that? That's nice.
Mhm.
All right, let me see if I can count to six this time. I was just enjoying the moment and the movement. I think I'm going a little fast too. That's that's what's challenging too, is you take out what you have to do with your feet, and so you don't have to pause with your hands. So that's interesting to remind myself, slow, smooth, continuous. All right, let's do it again. So we're not worrying about anything leg. We're just doing arms, the upper body movement of our basic six. All right, here we go. And commence. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. Open, close. Single whip. Waving hands in clouds. And open and close. close it out. So Nora, you may love this because we don't have to worry about right and left. We don't have to turn around. We can just stay facing forward. So that is just the upper body of a seated Tai Chi. But now let's give our feet a little bit of thought. So the way the footwork works, the footwork, the way you do your footwork, the way you do your footwork in seated Tai Chi is like pedal pushing. So you push one foot into the floor and then you release it and push the other to the floor. So you push. So I want y'all to experience that right now. Just push one leg, release, and push the other. So pushing, like pedaling. Push, release, pedal. And I got my hands kind of doing as I'm releasing and pushing. Just to kind of have
I enjoyed it. Easy.
There you go. Push, release. Push, release. Push, release. Push, release. What do you think about this? How are you feeling with this?
I like it because it's easier for me. I don't know what it's easier than standing. I don't know what.
I like the isolation of it. I mean, you know, when you're standing, you're really honestly worried about staying standing, right? You don't want to fall. When you're seated, you don't have to worry about falling because you're on your tail. You are seated. You can't fall. Well, I mean, you can. You could fall out of your chair, but it's not the same as when you're standing. And feel how much muscle you are engaging in your legs as you pedal them
Push,
to the
pedal.
floor.
I like the variety.
So I do too. So,
Yes.
and I'm thankful for my training that kind of said, hey, remember seated Tai Chi? So, it's good for us to remember seated Tai Chi, or for y'all to even learn about seated Tai Chi from the first time. So, okay, we experienced that. So while we're thinking about our legs, I want you to experience the raising of the leg. So push one foot into the floor and raise this foot. Then push that foot into the floor. Raise. Push and raise. Push and raise. You just added to your muscles, didn't you? Yeah. So that is a way to strengthen your leg muscles. Marching in place, intentionally pushing weight into the floor, slowly lifting a leg, pushing that other foot into the floor. So it's a slow march.
You could feel it in your thighs.
Yes, you do. That works your leg muscles more than when you're standing. And it's just what I was telling you at the beginning of class where I was saying, here we're at a seated position. All right, so here I'm standing. If I'm marching in place, see how high my knees are. They're not very high, right? Or if I'm shifting weight and step, my knees aren't coming very high. But if I'm seated, I'm already here. My knee is already high. Then I lift it, I'm going even higher. So that's what makes the difference in working those muscles in your leg.
And it's really good for people who don't have good mobility. You know, they can get that good workout with the leg, like my dad sitting down.
So for people that you know that they may not take Tai Chi class, but maybe they do have mobility issues, share this with them. of how they can engage their leg muscles. So what we're going to do now is our basic 6, engaging our legs. Okay. So the way we do it is we bring our hands up, just like we're starting commencement. All right. When we take our hands down, you push one leg into the floor. It doesn't matter which one, okay? So we come up, we push one leg into the floor as we bring those hands down. All right, now we're going to pull our hands to our hips. We're going to switch legs pushed into the floor. Now we're going to come up our body. We're going to switch legs. We're going to go away from our body and switch legs. And back towards our body, switch legs. And then we're going to release our legs for open and close. Okay? So we just paddled ourselves through the movement. All right, so we bring our hands up, no pressure on our legs. Now let's begin. Down push, in push, up push, out push, in push, release, open, close. How about that? So that's just commencement. All right, let's do it again and commence. Up, down, push, in, push, up, push, out, push, in, push, release, open, close. All right, again, commence. You're getting a leg workout, aren't you? So we release the legs when we do our open and close. And then when we go back to single whip, we push, push.
That was a meal and
So we have 2 pushes there. We push one as we go out and change as we do the other.
generation. I mean,
Now we have waving hands and clouds. Push, switch, switch, switch. Now, how you keep up with 5 or 6? We just do our best. Come back to center for open and close. No push. Single whip. Push and switch.
Okay, Mama.
Waving hands and clouds. Switch. Each time you go to turn the other direction, switch your legs.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Back to center, open and close it out. So that gives you the legs and the upper body experience of seated Tai Chi. And so I encourage you to practice that as we, if you have chance on your own time. Let's do it one more time. I'll do it without talking, but just know we're pushing our one leg at the time. We're releasing the legs for our open and close. Okay, here we go. And commence. Hands and clouds. And close. Single whip. and close.
Okay.
Thank you for my meal.
You got a workout.
Yeah.
Used to for Tai Chi, but I was really pushing that weight into the floor. But that gives us a choice. We could have done it without any weight pushing into the floor. We did. We tried it with pushing weight into the floor. We experienced it both ways. And so you can do it any and all of the ways. So let's cool down, giving ourselves that nice little fist massage. Really, our legs need a good massage and a big thank you today, because I think they worked harder than ever. Something else that worked harder than ever is our brains, because we have been learning Tai Chi standing for
We're cooling down.
for 8 weeks. And so for us to just, these are all the movements we've been doing. But I threw them at y'all in a completely different way. And our brains were like, wait, huh? Wait, what? So that was really good for our leg muscles as well as our brain. All right, so let's gather tension and then let it go. We don't want to live with tension. We don't want to hold and gather tension. What we do for this move, we just want to let it go. Shoulder circle. We take our right fist, that represents our strength. Our left fingers together is our friendship, our thumb in our humility. And we put those together in mutual respect. We say namaste.
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 Miss Jennifer.
No. Yes, ma'am.
Miss Jennifer. Yeah, Miss Jennifer. Yes, when I did I put you on my YouTube on the television. And then it's more bigger and I get a chance to do it, throughout the daytime.
Ooh, I like that. That's
so
awesome.
I'm enjoying it like that.
Well, now make note of March 11th that class will be a seated one. So if you ever want to do seated Tai Chi, then open up this class.
Okay.
All right, my dears. Well, we'll do it again next week.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me ask y'all a question. Do any of y'all have CD players?
Yes, ma'am.
I
do.
Miss Irene, do you?
I don't think so.
Barbara,
I might have.
you do.
I just don't. I haven't used it.
Maybe I can do it
I
on
got
my
a DVD
laptop.
player.
Does your laptop have a CD?
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine does.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do the laptop. Yeah.
Would y'all want me to send you the music?
I would
Yes,
love
ma'am.
that.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
What about the DVD for Dr. Lamb?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
DVD, I would like both.
Okay. And y'all
I have
all both of these?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let me make a note. Because I offered it this morning. I didn't want y'all to be left out. DVD. I don't
You
like.
got that? You got that many of them?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
I do. And I will send you those. And what else I'm going to send you are the posters.
Yes, ma'am.
And well, here's Miss Linda. She came into class at the end. The posters. Hold on, I'm going to show y'all. The posters will be folded up whenever let me let Miss Linda in. The posters will be folded up when y'all get them. Now, I got this frame from Walmart, and I put my poster in the frame.
Mhm.
Oh,
You don't have to
Oh,
do it like that. That's just how mine
okay.
are, and it helps it just be more portable.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
But
good.
there's a poster that has the warm-ups and cool
Mhm.
downs, and then there's a poster that has the basic 6 and advanced 6.
Mhm.
Now,
Okay.
y'all
Okay.
have enough experience with them to kind of understand the language, because
Mm-hmm.
to me, the first time you do Tai Chi, if you were to try to read the poster and try to figure it out for yourself, it would be confusing.
Mhm.
Also, I mean, the music is just music, but the
Mhm.
DVD, sometimes people have a hard time understanding Dr. Lamb because he does have an accent, and sometimes that's hard to understand. But also, something else about Dr. Lamb, you know how we talk about a higher stance,
Mhm.
so we're not squatted down. Sometimes it looks like he's a little more squatted down than what you're comfortable. So if you were to do this CD from the start, you may find yourself a little uncomfortable. But now that y'all have experience with it, I think you can follow it
Mhm.
without any problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be putting this in the mail to y'all.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you.
Miss Linda,
Yeah.
I'm guessing that your time hasn't changed, has it?
Well, apparently it didn't today, but now I had an excuse before. I got bogged down with one of my meal deliveries.
That's okay.
That was,
I just
but today I don't understand why I didn't get you today. I'm sorry.
I don't either. That's okay. But I saw you come in. I said, well, I better let Miss Linda in. We're wrapping it up. But if you will go back, I haven't obviously uploaded it yet because I haven't stopped the recording. But if you'll go back in a little bit, maybe about 20 minutes, and rewatch today's lesson, we did seated Tai Chi, and I think you will love it.
Yeah. I hadn't been up to par today, so
That's
that
okay.
would have been a good one.
But
Mhm.
you can do it because it'll be on recording. I'm sorry that you weren't on the live class, but you'll still have it to do.
Okay.
What number class is this?
This
Is
is
this like
9.
9? Okay. And it
Mhm.
goes up to how many again? 20? No,
16.
15.
16.
16.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
Mhm.
All right.
I'll get it.
Okay. It's okay, Miss Linda. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right. Love y'all.
Bye
Love you
bye.
too.
Love you too. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.